Any married people in the room, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There are days when you are loving to your spouse and you just don't want to be. There are days when you are kind to your children and they don't deserve it. There are days when you are tolerant of your neighbors and you'd rather just go the other way. And this, I contend, is love on the hoof. It is not the moment you feel it and do it. It's the moment when you do it and don't feel it that you are being most loving, most of a friend, most neighborly, that you are doing the most good. Because at some point we have figured it out. We have figured it out. I know we have figured it out because I say this and everybody nods. Love is just this simple. It is knowing that the well-being of another person is essential to your own. It is not feeling how much you love them. It's knowing that their existence makes you whole. So even on days when you would go, even on days when you are terribly angry or terribly frustrated, you still do it because their well-being matters to you as much as your own. And that's why this greater love hath no man than this makes sense. Because we are willing to give a lot of ourselves because we are actually giving it back to ourselves. When I know my children are content, my heart rests easy. If I know any one of them is not, I don't care how healthy I am, my heart is unhealthy. The same thing is true with our spouses and our parents and our neighbors. Eventually, if you learn to love enough, you get to be where you're not comfortable really any day because someone dear to you is struggling. So one of the challenges of love is that your heart gets broken every damned day, which is the way it should be. Because then you reach out and you feed more love back into the system. Maybe not to the person who needs it or the one you want to give it to, but to someone, because you know if you put more love back into the system, you will get more back. We tend to forget this fundamental economy of love in our individualistic, hyper-capitalist world. We tend to forget that we are called to put things back into the system if we want to take things back out. But if we pause and think, we know that every one of us is connected with everyone else. I was in London years ago and taking a walking tour through what is called Lincoln Court, the inns of Lincoln Court, one of the places where lawyers are trained. It's where John Donne, the great preacher, once studied before he became a cleric. And there's a chapel there. And it struck the hour as our bells are striking right now. And he said, yeah, I timed this perfectly, didn't I? And the person running the walk said as the bell chimed, and don't you remember when John Donne said, do not ask for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. And I realized it was that bell that he heard that wrote the poem that had now touched me. And now John Donne and I are just like that. That's the point. If we look deep enough, every one of us is already connected. If you care to look deep enough. How do you do that? Well, I want to give you a spiritual discipline to take you for the rest of the day. Thank you. Not just feeling gratitude, but saying it. Because when we express our gratitude to someone else, we are not just feeling it, which is the result. We are giving it, which is the act. And that is how we create love and friendship. Today, Celebration Sunday, is about gratitude. And I want you to think about doing it. And let me show you how. Let me put on my faraway eyes. Because today I want to be grateful. I want to be grateful in a different way. I want to be grateful for the very best job I've ever had in my entire life. I'm not kidding. I have felt more alive in my ministry here than I have any place else. My gratitude is innumerably high to you and to this church. I am blessed. Thank you for being Fountain Street Church because you have made me a better minister. Thank John Herman Randall, who as the minister who preceded me turned left when everybody else was turning right and set you on the course of a liberal and liberating faith. I'm thankful for Alfred Wesley Wishart for building this great big pile of bricks. I'm grateful for Milton McGarl, who had to try and save it for 10 years and who failed. And yet someone who fails also contributes to the path. I'm grateful to Duncan Littlefair, whose spirit is everywhere in this place. In days I'd love to shove him up to the attic. But by God, I'm grateful to him for setting you in the place that you are now. And to David Rankin, who I respected so much that it was his approval of this place that made me willing to take this job in the first place. It wasn't about you. It was about David. And for all those other clergy who I cannot name, like Bruce Bodie or Don Hoekstra or Sue Cinnamon or Matthew or Nuria or Patrick or all the others that are out there, I'm grateful to every damn one of them because they have made my life a better life for being here. I want to thank Dick Happel, who believes that excellence in the choir is worth working for, even when it's difficult and it's so much easier to go the other way. I want to thank Mary Ellen, because you have to live with Dick Happel. I'm going to thank Deb Pebley, because she said, why can't we have more Christmas carols? And that was important to you. And we found a way, and I hope that you appreciate that I love the fact that you asked me and that I responded. I want to thank Mary Lou Smith, who laughs better than anyone except Lisa Najeka. I want to thank Jim Cunnin for taking care of my music director. Jim Cunnin, who is not a member of this church, but is more a Fountain Streeter in part than anybody I know. I'm going to thank Steele Taylor, who married into this church, and he put his name on the list 20 years ago, and he's still at it. God bless you. But then again, you're married to Mary, and I would do anything if I could be married to Mary too. And her sister over there is Janie Goodspeed, and Phil, who keeps coming. And Phil's got himself a little motorbike. Well, actually, it's a bicycle for his knee, and he is on fire these days. I want to thank Bruce Gilmore, who's over there, and Eldon Cummings. I want to thank anyone whose name, I can't see it. The lights are too low. I think I see Harold Dirks back there, who was in the pulpit committee. I hope you haven't regretted it yet, Harold. I hope you haven't. And Wes Beck for collecting money all the time and looking at the properties committee. And Sharon Collins, who makes one of the districts on the lakeshore a real district. And you have made life better for all of us. And Chris Hess, who is a scribe for our governing board and volunteers in the office and listens to some conversations most of us would fall asleep for. And Joel Penny, who is making religious services a better committee. I got to thank Jan DeWitt, who keeps loving me even on days when I don't deserve it. And I want to thank Fran, because you keep loving everybody else even when they don't know it. And Val Nelson, whose smile goes all the way to the back of the room and back again. And the Kirkbrides, right? Who show up and make our monthly event down at Rosa Parks Circle a multi-generational event. And Terry Harper, thank you for looking after people. And I want to thank Irene Robertson, who had the nerve to become Irene after years of being Stevie, and for bringing herself to work every blessed week. I want to thank Sandy Lockwood for having an exquisite face and enormous amounts of courage, and Carolyn Matheson, who pays attention to my sermons even when they're hard to listen to. God bless you. I want to thank Paula Doyle, who loved Elizabeth James up to the very end, and those are just one of the 700 people that you love a lot. I want to thank Roger over there, and I want to thank, I could go on and on, but I would be here for the next hour, and you deserve every bloody piece of it, like Edie McCarger and Bridget White and Barb Hoogterp. And I'm looking back there, I see, oh, Louisa Nally, you're here. You're the woman who's going to make that great event take place. And then there's Pat Nally, who is smart enough to marry Louisa Nally. There's a smart guy. He was a university president, and that's number 2 to being married to Louisa. I know, because as good as it is being your minister, the best thing I ever did was marry my wife. And I am so grateful to her and to my children. And I could go on and on. I could talk about Gary Eberly, who made adult education come up above the radar and handed it over to Mark Wallstrom. I could go on and on. I could even talk to Bree and Laura, who are here for the first time. You've made my life better today because you showed up, and you don't have to tell me who you are, because I know you're out there. I want to say thank you. But more important, I want you to say thank you. Seeds. Matthew talked about seeds. I want to talk to you about soil. Because the reality is that seeds won't grow if there's no place to put them in, and they only grow in the human heart if the heart is open. So we have to turn up the soil. Thank you is turning up the soil. It is opening your heart to another person saying, thank you. Thank you, Anne. I really do. And Corrine, thank you. It's not the only thank you deserve. It's the only one I have right now. But I'll have another one next week. I want you to turn up the soil of someone else by going out all day long, at least while you're in the building, and saying thank you for something to someone, to as many people as you can give. Will you mean it? Maybe. But remember, love is not the feeling, it's the doing. Let us turn up the soil of our hearts. Open our hearts so they can grow with the seeds of hope and promise. I'm going to take off my jacket so you can see that I'm wearing a Fountain Street t-shirt. It says, free the mind, grow the soul, change the world. I wear this over my heart. I want you to do the same thing. And why? Because it's open. So, if you need to know where to go, you go there. But the point here is, gratitude is the door through which greatness goes. I've said we can be great. I said that we should be great and we will be great. And it starts with the gratitude for who we are right now. And the readiness to be changed. To be changed by the attitude of gratitude. And make great things happen long after we've left the scene. I thank each and every one of you. Bill, by the way, happy birthday to you. Each and every one of you. Now go and do likewise. Amen. Amen. All right, it's time to sing, everybody. I know it's late, but this is one of the coolest hymns. Come thou fount of every blessing, number 126. Fount of every blessing. Remember what we are.